If you can't bring order to your own life, how dare you presume to fix the world? You see, that's the fundamental truth people don't want to hear, because it places the burden right where it belongs on the individual, on you, and that's terrifying, because when you realize that your own lack of discipline, your own chaos, your own inconsistency is what's holding you back, there's no one left to blame, but there's hope in that, too, because it means you're not powerless. Now listen, people chase motivation like addicts chase a fix. They wait until they feel like doing something, and what happens? The days pile up, their goals slip away, their character erodes. Because consistency isn't built on feeling like it, it's built on doing it especially when you don't feel like it. That's where force comes in, not violence, not tyranny, but voluntary hardship. Discipline. It's the decision to put your house in perfect order brick by brick, regardless of how you feel in the moment, because the alternative is dreadful, chaos, disintegration. You will become resentful, bitter, weak, and that's not just bad for you, it's bad for your family, your community, the entire structure of society. That's no exaggeration. When you collapse, others suffer. So what do? You take responsibility. You set a schedule not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You commit to something small, brushing your teeth at the same time every day, waking up when the alarm goes off the first time, writing 100 words each morning. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you do it repeatedly, with intention, with integrity, and then something incredible happens. You start to trust yourself. Your mind starts to believe your own words. You become reliable not just to others, but to yourself, and that is the beginning of order. Understand this. Freedom without discipline is not freedom, it's chaos. You don't become free by giving in to every impulse. You become free by mastering them. And that mastery comes through consistency, through forcing yourself to live today in alignment with who you want to become tomorrow. So if you want to change your life, stop waiting to feel ready. Stop making excuses. Start doing what is necessary and do it consistently. Force yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. And that is the beginning of meaning. Thank you. 6 important key points from the speech. Force yourself. Be consistent. 1. Responsibility begins with the individual. You cannot change the world if you haven't first brought order to your own life. Personal transformation precedes societal change. If you want to live a life that means something, you have to start by getting your own house in order. That might sound cliché or even simplistic, but it's one of the hardest and most profound truths you'll ever confront. People are so quick to point fingers at society, at the government, at their parents, at their boss. But the harsh reality is that you can't fix anything outside of you until you've fixed what's inside of you. And that begins with taking radical responsibility for your own life. This means asking some very uncomfortable questions. Are you waking up at the same time every day? Are you taking care of your health? Are you following through on what you say you'll do? If not, then why are you wasting time trying to change the world when your own life is in disarray? That's not an attack, it's a call to action. Because the truth is, every time you make your bed, clean your room, fulfill a commitment, you're imposing order on chaos, and that's not nothing, that's profound. When you become someone who takes responsibility for themselves, who doesn't make excuses, who confronts suffering and discipline head-on, you become someone that others can rely on. And when enough people do that, you build a stable family, a functioning community, and eventually a better society. But it starts with you. If you can't hold yourself to a schedule, if you can't tell the truth, if you can't live with consistency, then what exactly are you offering to the world? Nothing of real value. So force yourself to confront that truth. Begin there, not with ideology, not with activism, but with your own daily actions. That's where genuine transformation begins. 2. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is essential. Waiting to feel motivated leads to inaction. Consistency is built through deliberate action, especially when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they act. They say things like, "I'll start when I feel ready," or I just don't have the energy right now. But if you live your life that way, always waiting for the right feeling, you'll spend most of it stuck in the same place. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, often without warning. You can't rely on something so unstable to build anything meaningful. If you want to achieve anything of real substance, you have to act regardless of how you feel. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to do it. It's forcing yourself to show up day after day without needing the emotional high to get you there, and that's incredibly powerful, because once you stop depending on motivation and start depending on your own commitment, you become consistent. And consistency over time beats talent, beats passion, beats almost everything. There's a hard truth most people avoid. The work is boring sometimes, it's repetitive, it's tiring. It doesn't always offer immediate reward. But it adds up. Every time you push through resistance, you're shaping your character. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted, that you won't break your own word just because you don't feel like it today. That kind of integrity is rare, and it's what sets successful people apart. So stop waiting to feel inspired. Stop waiting for the stars to align or for life to feel perfect. That moment may never come. Instead, decide, choose discipline over mood, act first, feel later, and in doing so, you'll build a life that isn't dictated by emotion, but driven by purpose and consistency. 3. Voluntary hardship builds strength. Forcing yourself to be consistent is not tyranny, it's training. Discipline through routine creates structure and resilience. There's a modern misconception that life should be comfortable, that ease is the natural state to aim for. But that belief weakens people. Strength, real lasting strength, comes through voluntary hardship. It's the ability to do what's difficult, to endure discomfort for a purpose greater than momentary pleasure. Forcing yourself to be consistent is not oppression, it's not cruelty, it's the discipline of self-respect, of becoming someone who chooses responsibility over indulgence, and that doesn't happen by accident. It happens through repetition, through deliberate daily struggle. Think about the process of going to the gym. You lift weights not because it feels good in the moment, but because the resistance makes you stronger. The same is true for your habits, your mindset, your discipline. When you wake up early even though your body wants to sleep, when you study even though you're tired, when you push through when every part of you wants to quit, that's voluntary hardship. And that's where transformation happens. The mistake people make is thinking that freedom comes from doing whatever you want, but that leads to chaos. Real freedom is the ability to act in your own best interest, even when it's difficult. That freedom is only earned through structure and discipline. By forcing yourself to do what you said you'd do, you build internal order. You become someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone reliable, someone capable of bearing the weight of life without being crushed by it. This isn't about punishment, it's about growth. Voluntary hardship is the path to becoming resilient, not just in routine, but in character. Without that, you remain fragile, easily broken by life's inevitable storms. But with it, you become someone solid, someone who can weather the storm and keep moving forward. 4. Small habits lead to big change. Start with small, manageable actions done consistently to build trust in yourself. This creates momentum and a foundation for larger transformation. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to change their lives is aiming too high, too fast. They set massive goals, overhaul everything at once, and then crash within days. The reason is simple. Change is not about dramatic leaps. It's about consistent incremental action. The smallest habits, done deliberately and repeatedly, can reshape your identity over time. Brushing your teeth at the same time every day, making your bed each morning, writing just one paragraph before breakfast. These aren't trivial acts, they're foundational. Each time you complete a small task, You cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. It might not seem like much in the moment, but consistency compounds. A single drop of water does nothing, but repeated drops can carve through stone. That's how transformation works. It's not instant. It's slow, often invisible at first, but relentless, and it starts with doing something so small you can't reasonably make an excuse to skip it. The real power of these small, consistent habits lies in what they teach your brain, that you are capable of following through. That your word means something, that you can be trusted by yourself, and once that trust is built, it becomes a feedback loop. You start to believe that larger changes are possible because you've proven that you can manage the smaller ones. This approach also protects you from the burnout that comes with overcommitment. When your progress is steady, not frantic, it becomes sustainable, and over time, those small, steady habits create an internal structure, a rhythm, that helps you remain grounded even when life becomes chaotic. You don't need to overhaul your life in one night. You just need to begin, and then keep going. Start small. Stay consistent. Let time do the rest. 5. Freedom requires self-mastery. True freedom doesn't come from indulging every impulse. It comes from governing yourself. Consistency is the path to internal order and autonomy. Many people believe freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that kind of freedom quickly turns into chaos. If you follow every impulse, if you act only on what feels good in the moment, you eventually become a slave to your desires. You lose control. You procrastinate. You overindulge. You break your own promises. That's not freedom. That's weakness wearing the mask of liberty. True freedom is the ability to say no to yourself. It's the ability to choose what's right over what's easy. This kind of self-mastery doesn't come naturally. It has to be built, and the only way to build it is through consistency. When you force yourself to do what's necessary, even when it's unpleasant, you train your mind to obey your higher reasoning instead of your lower instincts. You teach yourself that not every emotion needs to be indulged, that not every craving needs to be satisfied. You become someone who acts with purpose, not someone who reacts to feelings. Freedom through discipline is a paradox, but it's a real one. The more structure you create in your life, the more you commit to habits, routines, boundaries, the more agency you gain. You stop being dragged around by anxiety, laziness, and distraction. You become the one steering the wheel. And that opens the door to greater achievement, deeper relationships, and a stronger sense of self. It's uncomfortable at first, it requires sacrifice, but it pays back in control, in confidence, in clarity. You don't become less free by being disciplined. You become more free because now you have the ability to choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. That is the mark of someone who owns their life instead of being owned by it. And it all begins with consistency. 6. Consistency creates identity and meaning by living in alignment with who you want to become day after day. You build character, purpose, and meaning. Your actions shape your future self. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. That means your habits, especially the ones you repeat consistently, aren't just things you do, they're shaping who you are. Consistency isn't just about productivity or achievement, it's about identity. When you show up every day, when you keep your word to yourself even in small ways, you begin to see yourself as someone who is capable, disciplined, and trustworthy. And that shift in identity is where true transformation begins. People often think their goals define them, but it's actually their patterns that do. Who you are isn't what you say you want. It's what you repeatedly do. If you want to become someone strong, focused, or successful, you don't need to wait until you feel that way. You need to act like that person now through consistent behavior. Over time, those actions reinforce your sense of purpose and give your life direction. More importantly, consistency creates meaning. When you live in alignment with your values every single day, your life begins to feel ordered. That order doesn't make life easier, it makes it bearable even in suffering. Because meaning doesn't come from ease or comfort, It comes from bearing a burden you've chosen, from moving forward with integrity despite resistance. Consistency gives that movement structure. When your actions reflect your values day after day, you stop living in internal conflict. You no longer feel split between who you are and who you wish you were. You become whole, and with that wholeness comes a deep sense of meaning, the kind that sustains you when everything else falls apart. That's the reward of consistency, not just results, but a life that makes sense, a life you can stand behind, a life that matters. Rules to transform your life in 2025, inspired by Jordan Peterson. 100 words clean your room. Wake up on time, tell the truth, especially when it's hard. Stop waiting for motivation, act anyway. Face your fears not because you're fearless, but because courage is choosing to act despite them. Aim high, but start small. Discipline yourself, or the world will do it for you. Carry your burden with dignity, speak carefully, your words shape reality, and take responsibility, radical, painful, necessary responsibility for your life. In 2025, don't chase comfort, chase meaning, because meaning, not happiness, will carry you through chaos, and that's the only real transformation worth striving for.